Mrs. Keeper said it's at 7 o'clock on that clock, so I'm going by that clock just for tonight. We're going to have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Ms. Garza.
Yes. Chairman Williams,
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Kiefer. Here. Mr. DeMaria,
Here.
Mr. Albrecht,
Here.
Mrs. Seberg,
Here.
Mrs. Williams,
Here.
Mrs. Doan, Mr. Aljiri.
Thank you very much. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda, Dr. Newman?
Yes, sir. Under consent agenda, please add personnel and ratification of personnel, as well as under finance and operations, contracts over $100,000 for curriculum and instruction.
Thank you. Are there any announcements or spotlights tonight?
No, sir. We are going to postpone the apples and pears.
Okay, thank you very much. There are no board committee reports, so I will move on to board member comments, and I will start with Mr. Aljiri. Thank you for being here, especially with no school today. It's really admirable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope everyone had a good winter break, and I look forward to a good new year. Recently, seniors at Osborne took the new U-Science test, and I got my results back a couple days ago. The test itself was actually quite interesting to see what I'm good at, what I'm struggling a bit with. And the results was also very interesting. So the possible careers that it gave me, a lot of them I did not think I'd fit into at all, but they were interesting to look at. I highly suggest that every senior complete the test because it actually was quite interesting to see all the careers they gave me, to see why I fit in, what exactly made me fit in, with what skill. So I think it's really useful. It's quite interesting. I'll definitely look at it again later. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that. The board took the test last summer, along with the superintendent, and Mr. DeMaria can tell you about his results.
No,
but,
thank you.
but it's very informative. So thank you for sharing that. It's good to hear that something that we've incorporated has been useful, so thank you. Next, Mr. Albrecht.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome back from the holidays. The board is in the throes of developing a budget, going through our work session. Staff is developing the budget. This is the first year since I've been on the board, and that's a little while, that the revenue sharing agreement has lapsed. And by that I mean that the board will be developing a true needs-based budget, not one that has been artificially constrained to fit the revenue available within the city. Numbers we've looked at talk about city funding in constant year dollars are less today than they were 13 years ago. We are educating children on a cost per student basis for less money today than 10 years ago or more. It's often said, do more with less. We have all schools fully accredited. We have done more with less, but we can't anymore. It's going to be a very difficult budget session, and I encourage people to come out and get involved and watch. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. DeMaria.
Thank you. Make it short tonight. Winter sports are going on. Tonight's games against Patriot were postponed until tomorrow night. So tomorrow night at home, the girls are playing, and tomorrow night at Patriot, the boys are playing. This is not a area game. This game has statewide implications. Two very good teams. If you can get out to Patriot tomorrow night, it's huge for our kids to see you there. If you can't get out there, go to the girls' games. They need to see you as well. And then Friday is a big home game against Stonewall. Big things going on. It's going to be a very, very exciting night, not just for basketball, for other things. So get out Friday night for the girl-boy doubleheader. It is, right? The girls play before the boys on Friday night. Girls tomorrow night at home against Patriot, boys tomorrow night at Patriot. That's it.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Mrs. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have too many comments. I want to welcome everybody back from the winter break. Hope everybody enjoyed their couple days of snow days. My kids did. And I also would like to, at the beginning of the year, start talking about goals, setting goals, even with your students. My husband and I sit down and we put our big rocks in first, vacation, things like that, and talk about what the family's going to do. And we incorporated the kids this time. They're 9th and 10th grade, and we set goals with them. We looked at their classwork, coursework. We asked them to set their own goals and how we were going to get there. And I know we all talk about goals and work, but I don't know that we talk about it with our students. So that was very successful. I'd also like to mention Saturday Learning is this Saturday from 9 to noon. Students can kind of come in and go. I think they also feed the kids breakfast, and I think we've got a lot of the items filled, but anybody who could come and help serve the kids would be very, very helpful. And at this point in time, that's all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Mrs. Seberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to wish everyone a Happy New Year, and hope you had a safe and warm couple of snow days. And I also wanted to do a shout out to our 12-month employees and to our custodians. Held down the fort and shoveled our walks and made it so it will be safe for our children to return, hopefully tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Seberg. Ms. Kiefer.
Thank you. I too will be short tonight, and I too wanted to just thank everybody who's made it possible for our kids to be safe and at home. Sometimes the calls are hard to make, but I believe we made the right calls and will continue to do so. So thank you to those who have to make the tough calls. I also wanted to just reflect on what Mr. Albrecht talked about with regards to the budget issues we have at hand. We continue to have discussions, and I think at the end of the day, the best thing that any and all of us can do is to make sure we keep front and center and have our voices heard about what matters to the city. And what should matter and does matter are the kids and the education they received. So with Martin Luther King Day coming up next week, I just wanted to end with a quote that feels relevant to me as we think about, how we're going to navigate the choppy waters of making sure our kids get cared for. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Our kids matter, and so please get your voices out there and help us out with this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kiefer. And I was handed a note, because Ms. Kiefer asked for it, there'll be a 2-hour delay for school tomorrow. So all of you are watching, the hundreds that were home are watching, the thousands watching, there will be a 2-hour delay tomorrow. And I also want to echo the thanks of the staff who worked hard and diligently to make sure that our kids are safe and can come to a school, our kids and our staff and families are safe when they come to our schools and cleaning the areas, which is not an easy thing to do. Next up, citizen comments. No citizens have signed up for comments. Are there any citizens who wish to make a comment who have not signed up? Seeing none, we move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move the school board of the city of Manassas adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Mr. Albrecht, second by Mrs. Kiefer, that the school board of the city of Manassas approve the consent agenda as modified. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0. Thank you very much. Next up, discussion agenda. We have student achievement. Dr. Trey Davis, supervisor of the K-12 Career and Technical Education Department, will provide an update of the Career and Technical Education Program. Dr. Davis.
Does this mic work? I think I'm loud enough anyway. So, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Chairwoman, board members, Dr. Newman. Thank you for having me tonight. My name's Trey Davis. I'm the new K-12 supervisor of CTE, and I'm glad to be here tonight to give you an update on where we're at with career and technical education. All right, get started. The first slide you have there, a little mixed because I did not hit it all the way. Oh, we slid it up. Good. That's a slide that was put together in the last 12 months. We've modified it recently to include some things that are going on at K-12 academic and career academies. At the lower levels, where we have students given a lot of exposure to various careers. Middle school, we're talking about they move toward the the academies that you see in the yellow listing, and then they also gravitate toward the 4 academies that we have at Osborne High School. So that's a graph that we put together that shows the chart of where we're going. Okay, there we go. CTE-related instruction, pre-K through 8, most of the lower levels with elementary. Of course, you have your math, your history, English, your science, PE, all those courses you have to take, but they also get exposure in the various integrated activities. We've got Hour of Code, we've got Makerspace, where they can make stuff. We also have the Lego clubs, career and communication days, community days. We have the Project Lead the Way. We have that launch. And also as they move toward the intermediate and the middle schools, they get to focus on the college and career readiness, and that's something that's been passed down from the state. You've heard that information the last few years, and so by that time they start putting together toward an academic plan. We'll also continue with their career fairs. We'll continue with digital literacy, and also the first robotics. They start at that competition at the middle schools, and then they gravitate up to the high schools. The 9 through 12, this is just actually a listing of one of the brochures that mentions all of the courses that are offered at the high school. You can't quite see it there, but it's the brochure we put together recently so that we can actually hand copies of this to all stakeholders, whether it be parents in the community or business in the community. But it's a listing of all of the various courses that they can take, and there are the different areas, whether it's under architecture, whether it's business, whether it's health or transportation, arts and humanities, and also a STEM academy. So we offer a wide variety of courses, so students they have a lot to choose from, which is exciting. Manassas City has a ton of potential in regards to career and technical education, so we wanted to put more of that information on as much handouts and information we can get out there to kind of meet all stakeholders. Stakeholders could be everybody from community, the businesses, 3rd graders, 8th graders, parents, and so as much information as we get out there, for the better. Building upon a strong advisory board, we already currently have one CT, it's a strong advisory board, and in my experiences in years past, that it's better to also have program advisory boards for each program. So as we move toward that, we have professional development later in the month, and we'll talk to them about building their own advisory board for the auto technology class, the cosmetology class, the business programs. And what we'll do is we'll use this spring to develop those and build those advisory boards, and hopefully next August in the fall time we'll have our first banquet kind of meeting where we have the business industry comes together. We have student speakers and a guest speaker, and then after that they go down to the hallways and they actually have an advisory meeting with them. And we also have a document that we're working on to put together that allow them to work through a meeting, a CT advisory meeting, where we can actually talk about equipment needed, talk about instruction, and they go back and forth, and the instructors can let the business and industry know what's going on, and then also the business and industry can guide them with what they think is probably needed or new equipment. And that helps devise or work toward our CTE plan. Lets us know how old that equipment is and where we need to be. So it helps us devise our Perkins plan moving forward. All right, and this was another slide that everything is going toward work-based, or should I say workforce development. And I think many years of CTE was a lot of hobby teaching. And now there's a big emphasis on workforce development, getting kids jobs if they're not going to college, and even if they are going to college. Eventually they're going to get out of college and they're going to have to be in the workforce. So many of the things that we do in CTE is everything from internships to mentoring to job shadowing, and even the 22 competencies of every CTE program, caters toward those soft skills. So we want to get those students that are in there that can create a pathway, that can find something that they want to do. Even though a lot of kids go to college, some of them don't finish college. Hopefully they can, and with the advanced diplomas nowadays, in the 8 periods that you get 32 opportunities. You can still get an advanced diploma while taking a CTE track. So we're excited about that, and that happened over so many years. So we're hoping to put more workforce development into our programs. And building a strong advisory board, as I've seen firsthand, brings the business and industry, and that creates a pipeline, 12-month pipeline to get kids jobs. And so we've seen that. We've embarked on that recently in Manassas City, and we want to continue to expand on that. So these are just examples of various work-based learning opportunities that the students will have, depending on that program, whether it's summer jobs, whether it's internships, whether it's field trips, whether it's guest speakers, anything we can do to give students an opportunity to find out what is actually going on in that field. right, and preparing students for post-secondary experiences, this is some of the things that we focus heavily on with the soft skills. Like we hear it in business and industry, the number one thing, I heard it the last few weeks, in economic development meetings, soft skills is a big kicker. We can teach them anything once we get them in the door, but they need to have soft skills and put the phone down. So we push heavily on mock interviews, resume writing, the soft skills as I mentioned, certifications, and we also try to start posting positions related to that, whether it's summer jobs or internships, anything in that. And so what we're doing as a CTE staff is putting together an emphasis on that advisory, and I'll also talk to you about a marketing strategy that we have coming up also. And that'll be in 2 slides. And if you haven't heard about it already, we've really had, since the fall and all the way through the spring, and Paul Steiner back here is our CT administrator for the hospital, has done an excellent job of getting business and industry in. And we kind of focus around everybody eating donuts, but that's not really the focus of it. It is a nice little treat. And we open it up to many students. They have to get a pass to come down there. And if you see some of the pictures right there, it's been an excellent turnout in regards to the various trades and industries. And those are the different dates that we've offered them, and we will continue to offer them next month. And it allows students and industry to come in there, and we've actually had kids, hired from that process. But the ultimate piece is to create that pathway and those conversations about what is your job, and the employee's asking them, well, what do you want to do? And it just opens that dialogue. And so that's been very healthy, and we want to continue to sustain some of those things that are going on. And hopefully those industry will become part of our bigger advisory council. The next one is building a CTE marketing strategy. We're currently working on brochures for every program. And in doing that, we'll have a brochure rack in every class. We want every student to walk through and be able to say, hey, what is your program like? Instead of a teacher having to always sit there and tell them what it's like, they can also give them a brochure that tells them about the certifications, it tells them about the competencies, what goes on in there, what club or student organization they might be a part of, and what are some of the big highlights of that program. And we'll also have these bigger brochure racks in the counselor's office, outside the high school office, down by the CTE office, also at Metz Middle School. So the students, when they go through the middle school exposure and they start talking about their career plan, they'll actually be able to go touch and read and take home a lot of documentation pertaining to some things that may be interested to them. So we're currently printing off some of the brochures now because we do have our 8th graders coming in within the next month. So we'll be able to give them information they take back and they can have some literature. And a big part of their marketing strategy, increasing the awareness, because once again, counselors don't know whose dad's an electrician. They're not going to have the in-depth knowledge of every kid that they can. But if people in industry walk up and down the hallway and they find out, well, what is your auto tech program like? What is your cosmetology program like? We can give them more information by a click of a button on the website to download that brochure that gives them detailed information. And we update it yearly with heavy emphasis on back to school nights in August. And the recruiting time frame is getting ready to open up now where they're starting to schedule this month and next month. We want to be able to offer students information. And the biggest thing is students are going to go somewhere. We would prefer to have the students that want to be in that class, and sometimes they may or may not know, but educating the students on what's offered in the class and letting them get I didn't realize this is what this was all about. So if they can learn more about it and really be interested in, you tend to get more students in the class that may want to be there versus place there. And so that's the whole marketing strategy. Also follows up with a newsletter that'll come out in the fall, the winter, and the spring, and you'll get a copy of that soon. And then we're going to update some stuff on the CTE website that includes some of that stuff that you can click on and download if you want to have information to give things. As I've been here since October, and we're putting together some documents, so when I do meet with business and industry, I can give them, this is all the listings of our courses. I can give them information about how to become a business partner. So we're excited about that. And then the last thing is our strategic plan. We're putting it together there. We meet later this month with our CT advisory group, and then we'll discuss everything that's going on in the local and the regional economy. We'll discuss the various things on these slides that I just mentioned. But we'll also start talking about program evaluations. We're not looking at any new programs next year. I think we have a couple courses that we're offered, but down the road, the next couple of years, what is going to be the best programs that we can bring in that can give our kids an opportunity for employment locally or within the region. So that's something that and the state requires you to do surveys and really do your homework when you try to bring in a big program. Of course, programs cost money. CTE programs are not cheap. And I know that this time with budgets and all that, so it's maybe not in the immediate future, but in our next 3 to 5 year plan, we're going to systematically look at and see what programs are best needs for Manassas City Public Schools. And I appreciate your time, and thank you for allowing me to give you the Manassas City Public Schools K-12 CTE plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any comments, questions?
Thank you for presenting this. You said that, you know, they can get jobs out of this, and if they do go to college, they still might use this for a job later. I've always said that this will also just help them in life. You know, I mean, if you're a lawyer, it'd be nice to be able to change your own light bulb. You know, and it just seems today that some people, you know, I know that's simplistic, but, you know, they can't change a switch either. And maybe they'd be able to do that. You know, they can't change a fuse in their car. Maybe they'd be able to do that. So you don't have to, some of the people today, and I know I'm an old curmudgeon now, but, you know, people these days just can't do things the way a lot of us used to be able to do them. And so I think it's a great life skill, even if it's not a career skill, all of this stuff. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Any comments? This side of that?
Thank you.
I just want to embrace something you said and maybe paraphrase a little bit, because I don't believe, I agree with you, not everybody right out of high school needs to go to college, but everyone needs to embrace lifelong learning. And to Mr. Maria's point, I mean, the skills that we hopefully are imparting on the children today are things they can draw back on for the rest of their lives. The other part that I think is refreshing, and you ended with, and it's something we've talked about for a long time, and while the state may require it, it's how we do it that matters, is that purposeful looking to see what is the right level of CTE for our local economy to help the children of Manassas succeed. What's relevant here? Because certainly if we were in rural Southwest Virginia, our needs would be radically different than they are sitting here in, you know, what is potentially Silicon Valley East. So, you know, we have different needs as far as construction, different needs in IT, you know, and the world's constantly changing. I mean, you talked about business information management. I think what one of the bullets was. In many parts, that's called data analytics, and big data and how to analyze it is something that it really doesn't matter the occupation you're in. Everybody is awash in data. There's too much information out there. The real challenge is knowing what to do with it and how to slice and dice it. So
Thank you.
We're on the right path.
All right, excited.
Thank you, Dr. Naled. Thanks for the presentation, and thanks for your creativity. And also, it's nice to see the intersection between what Mr. Al-Jady was mentioning with youth science and some of the practical information that you all are bringing to the table. I mean, because at the end of the day, we want our kids to graduate and have skills. And Mr. Mayor made an excellent point. We want folks to be multifaceted and have the ability to do different things, and this is a great methodology for them to do that. So thank you for doing this. We appreciate it. With that, I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a closed session. So may I have a motion for the closed session?
Sir, I move that the school board of the city of Manassas enter closed session pursuant to exemptions from open meetings allowed by section 2.2-3711, Part A, Paragraph 1 of the Code of Virginia 1950, as amended for the following purposes: discussion of personnel matters, PERS 1819-0211 and PERS 1819-0230.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Demaria, second by Mr. Albrecht, that the school board of the city of Manassas enter a closed session pursuant to exemptions from open meetings allowed by section 2.2-3711, Part A, Paragraph 1 of the Code of Virginia 1950 is amended for the following purposes: PERS 1819-0211 and PERS 1819-0230. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0. We will enter closed session.